There are right-wing fearmongers who are nothing but bullies. Bullies who, like all bullies, are themselves deeply afraid. They're afraid of facing hard truths and afraid of the will of the majority. This hysteria going on over critical race theory and the right-wing efforts to mainstream disinformation about it are inflicting real harm on Americans, and it's adding fuel to the fire of forces who are hell-bent on tearing our country apart. Those fearmongers are right now attacking the Trump-appointed chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, the highest-ranking military officer in the United States. If you want to know why those snowflakes are so provoked, take a listen to General Milley again.
I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that, because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it.
General Milley's offense was apparently having the gall to suggest that our military leaders should know our history, and to acknowledge that our imperfect history informs our present. As George Santayana said, those who fail to remember the past are doomed to repeat it. Now, it's true that there are a small minority of Americans who might want to repeat the mistakes of our racist past, but I certainly can't fault General Milley for not counting himself among their number, because racism is real in America. It hurts real people, and to be honest, I don't like bullies. Neither the Civil War nor Obama's presidency ended racism in America. They were good steps, but they were steps towards progress, and we still have a long way to go before we live up to our founding promise of equality. The unfortunate truth is that every time we've moved a little bit closer to realizing Martin Luther King's dream, it scared the dickens out of a certain subset of white men who are petrified to live in a world where they might be judged by the content of their character. So let's move on to a little bit of history. There were over 50 million people living in the Americas in 1491. Our forefathers killed most of them. They then invented a whole theory, manifest destiny, to try to reconcile the sins they knew they'd committed with their Christian faith. Once they had that, it was pretty easy to build that into slavery, because they had this idea that they were racially superior, and so it was okay for white landowners to own, buy, and even rape their fellow human beings and their children. Our founders not only tolerated chattel slavery, but they participated in it and profited off it. Which is not to say that we don't owe our founders unbelievable gratitude and our unending respect. As John Meacham has so beautifully written, our founders' gift to us was to design a country and a constitution based on a moral standard that they were individually incapable of. But consider how that history has impacted our present. Why is the image of suburbia a bunch of middle-class, white nuclear families, and why is your image of the inner city the opposite? Why are black men so much more likely to be arrested, convicted, and sentenced for minor drug offenses that white men in fraternity basements get away with all the time? Why do we talk about crack addicts differently than victims of the opioid crisis? If those questions make you a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit curious, that's awesome. Read up, study, learn our history so that you can better understand our present. But whatever you do, don't let it hold you back. Now, for years, the Army's recruiting slogan was, "Be all that you can be."
Find your future in the Army.
And in a nutshell, that's what General Milley was talking about. Our military, and indeed our country, is at its best when everyone has the ability to live up to their full potential. And that was our founders' vision. That was their promise to us. Whether it's the military, our businesses, our communities, our American competitiveness, it is all advantaged when we embrace the diversity that makes our nation great, acknowledge the painful parts of that history, are clear-sighted about how that contributes to the current disparities and trauma that persists today, and make sure that everybody can live up to that potential. That's how we move forward. That's why we've been the beacon for so many around the world who've come to our shores, because of that promise. And it's how we continue to be the leading global nation, setting the standards for other countries across the world for how they might live up to our promise. Not because we have ever achieved our founders' vision, but because we strive for it. Because when we find mistakes, we fix them. sporadically, insufficiently, non-linearly, incompletely. But we do strive towards that better union. Critical race theory asks us only to continue on that quest. General Milley is exactly right, and none of us, none of you I know, are fooled by the specious garb of patriotism that the angry online mob attacking General Milley seems so comfortable putting on. But for now, it's on all of us to continue to lift our nation upward, to move us steadily closer to the promise of real and complete equality. That's something we got to do, and it's something we can all be proud of doing. And until we do, it's on all of us individually to reach up, grab that arc of history, and bend it a little closer towards justice.